Order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Welch, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. Tonight, first, we will have our second budget hearing for PSTA's fiscal year 2017 budget. Then we will go through our regular PSTA board meeting immediately following the hearing. We have some commissioners who will not be here with us tonight. Absent will be Mayor Bajowski, Commissioner Ben Diamond, and Commissioner Samantha Finger. Before we get started, and also you may notice that this is not Alan Zimmett sitting to my left. This is Nikki Nate, who will be our counsel this evening. So welcome, Nikki. Before we get started, you may notice that we have some major new technology in front of us that we'd like to use tonight. So I'm going to ask Brad to quickly and efficiently run through this and give us a tutorial.
There you go. Good evening, everyone. There are two systems that we'll be using tonight. First is a new queuing system for board member comments. That is the microphone. On your microphone, there will be a button, and you need to press it if you would like to speak. To get into the queue, press the button, and it'll turn green. You can press it at any time. If you think of a question you're asking during a presentation, you can press the button and it will appear. You will get into the queue that the chair, so the chair can recognize you. When it's time for your turn to speak, the chair will cue your mic and your button will turn from green to red like a camera that you're on, and your microphone will turn on. Just a note, your iPad may have at the bottom of it a button that says request to talk. We're not using that system on the tablets. Only to talk, you have to press the button on your microphone. For motions and seconds, we are going to do it the old-fashioned way. The chair will ask for a motion and second, and just feel free to shout that out, and Rachel will record it appropriately for the motion and second. The new voting system, however, will be live and for the first time on your tablet in front of you. So you have all now been logged in, and when it's time to vote, the chair will ask Rachel to turn on the system, and you will place your vote on your tablet with a yes or no, and then you will see it up on the screen, your name and how you voted. The chair will keep the voting open for a period until everyone's voted, and then close it, and then announce the result. We don't have too many votes tonight, so it's really sort of a practice. It's mainly during the budget hearing. So bear with us, and I'm sure we'll all get better at this.
Great. Thank you, Brad. So this new technology will take just a little bit of time to get used to and feel comfortable with. So thank you for your patience, especially with this first meeting as we move forward. Does anyone have any questions?
Button to see if it worked.
You did.
Yes, you did. And actually, if everybody would like to go ahead and hit the button, we could kind of do a practice round here real quick for us. So I have Commissioner Doug Beavis first in the queue, so I will turn your microphone on. And
We're celebrating our centennial this weekend.
Okay, now I'm cutting it off. Okay, Patty Johnson is next.
Okay, and we're having a
Okay,
rodeo.
we're cutting you off. Okay, just kidding. Now we have Commissioner Wheeler-Bowman.
Present.
Okay. And I'm cutting off your mic, so you see how that looks. Okay, so Commissioner Scott.
I hear there's a big craft beer fest at Bright House Village.
And Commissioner Long.
Stay tuned for the date for our sewer system task force, which should be very interesting for everyone to participate
Yeah, I
in.
want to hear more about that. Okay. Now, Commissioner Gerard.
I got nothing.
Okay, but you see that your light should be red?
Yes.
And now it's not. And Commissioner Eggers, your light should be red?
It is, thank you.
And now it's not. And Commissioner Johnson?
Finally, yes.
Okay, great. And Commissioner Dighton?
Oktoberfest in Reddington Beach this year.
Okay.
Okay.
And Nikki Nate? So there you go. And last but certainly not least, Commissioner Welch.
You wait till I leave to get the cool text, so.
I know.
All right, that's neat.
Okay, good. So that was a quick run-through. All right. So on to our public hearing on fiscal year 2017 millage rate and budget. As I mentioned, we will first hold our second of two fiscal year 2017 millage rate and budget hearings. I do have a statement that I'm required to read, and then Brad will also read a required statement. So the purpose of this public hearing is to receive public input and allow the public to ask questions concerning the authority's tentative millage rate and tentative operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2017. Copies of our tentative budget are available if you've not already obtained one. The tentative fiscal year 2017 budget is included herewith, totaling $90,240,661. The operating budget is $70,175,913, and the capital budget's $20,064,748. The millage rate for fiscal year 2017. The fiscal year 2017 tentative millage rate is .7500. The fiscal year 2017 rolled back rate is .6838. The fiscal year 2017 tentative millage rate of .7500 is 9.68% greater than the rollback rate, and PSTA's millage rate limit is .7500. The tentative property tax rate is used to fund the fiscal year 2017 budget. And Brad, your required statement, please.
Good evening. This public hearing has been scheduled so the general public may be given the opportunity to comment on the proposed millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2017. A paid advertisement concerning the public hearing appeared in the Tampa Bay Times on September 1st, 2016. Notices were posted at the Park Street Terminal in Clearwater, Grand Central Station, Williams Park in St. Petersburg, Pinellas Park Transit Center in Pinellas Park, PSTA Administrative Headquarters, and in all PSTA buses on August 26, 2016. Information flyers were distributed via insertion and all scheduled by mail requests on the PSTA bus fleet and at the customer service centers beginning on August 26th. A press release announcing the public hearing was emailed to major media contacts and social service agencies on September 12, 2016. A notice regarding the public hearing was posted on PSA's website on August 26, 2016. To date, staff has received no written comments from the public concerning the issue. In addition, in the modern era, PSTA has one of the largest social media networks of any transit system in the state of Florida, and we did post this on all social media platforms. We received 10 comments supporting of increasing the service hours and 4 comments that were either not supportive or not supportive of the specific changes to the routes. So that concludes my statement.
All right, thanks, Brad. The staff presentation has been included in our packet for review, but since this presentation is nearly identical to the presentation we received at our first public hearing 2 weeks ago, we're going to forego the presentation and move straight to public comments and then board discussion. So for any member of the public wishing to comment either on the fiscal year 2017 millage rate or on the fiscal year 2017 PSTA budget, please fill out a yellow card and hand it to Rachel, who's right up front here, and she will get it to me. So if you have a comment about another item on the agenda tonight, we will get to that after this hearing on the budget, and then you'll fill out a green card. So before I ask for a motion to adopt the final millage rate resolution, oh, I'm sorry, skipped ahead. So let me take our public comments. And our first public comment is Tom Rask. And Mr. Rask, it looks like you'll be speaking for 6 minutes because Sully Grasso has given you 3 minutes of his time.
Thank you. Tom Rask, unincorporated Pinellas County. This resolution will pass. We know that already from the vote earlier this month. There is apparently a strong majority here to raise the taxes on the people. This after they said very strongly in 2014 that they liked what you told them about what would happen if green light failed, which is, and I quote, the PSTA will default to depleted network of routes, 18 to 28% service cuts. Now you can measure service cuts in revenue miles or revenue hours, but the cuts have been zero. Actually zero, no cuts whatsoever. Again, this measure will pass. I know that already. But I saw in the previous hearing, nobody came here to say that they didn't want it to pass, so I thought I would come here. And what I think is interesting, I remember from the June meeting where Ms. Gerard said that the CEO, Brad Miller, was, quote, deliberately misleading, end quote, deliberately misleading her on the electric bus issue. Now, I don't agree with that, but I thought if somebody's deliberately misleading you, why would you vote to give them more money? Yet she will vote to raise the taxes on the people tonight. And I would like to make a public records request through the chair to Ms. Gerard for all records that she thinks are supportive of her claim, that she was deliberately misled. You have posted notices everywhere, yet no one comes, or very few people come to your meetings. Have you thought that that could be because they feel that citizen input has no effect on your decisions? Article 1, Section 1 of the Florida Constitution says all political power is inherent in the people. But, they've given up to a large extent, so they work through other means. So I'm opposed to this. I think you should adopt the rollback rate, but that's not going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rask. Our next card is from Carl Heisenbuttel. You have 3 minutes, sir. Anyone else who wants to speak, please fill out a yellow card.
I just want to understand how much percentage has the millage rate and budget rate gone up from last year? What's the percentage of the budget increase from last year's budget, the 2016 budget? Because I don't know what it was, because it's been a while since you had a meeting on the 2016 budget. So I'd like to know what the increase is, and if you're cutting services to a lot of buses and routes and you're not providing transportation to people that need transportation, why is there an increase in budget if you're cutting services? So I don't understand, is it going up 9.6% or 9.68%? If you do that every year, you could have a 100% increase within 10 years. So anyway, I just want to know what was the current budget rate for last year or years past, and how much that would be gone up every year. I think that's something you need to address.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think we do have that information on our website that you can check, or you can talk to a financial, one of our budget officers here, and he can address it, or I think, James, you're talking to him. We're not proposing to cut the service. We are proposing, if the millage rate is adjusted to the 0.75 rate, to use 100% of the additional revenue, about $1.1 million, for additional service. Additional service, not a cut in service.
Thank you. So before I ask for a motion to adopt the final millage rate resolution, I don't see any more yellow cards, so we'll move on to hear any board member comments. Remember to press your microphone button to get in the queue to speak. And Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I was not at the first budget hearing. The reason for that was that it conflicted with the City of Clearwater's budget hearing, and I hope that for next year we will be able to keep the conflicts down. I know this has happened sometimes in the past as well. It seems like maybe the county bumps from Tuesday to Wednesday, and that pushes us, but we won't get at that and further into that. Because of this being an increase in the millage, I chose to take this back to my city council to talk to them about this issue and to get some guidance from them. And I presented to them some facts that I had been talking to members of the business community primarily, and they continue to say that they have problems with getting employees to their business, or rather they have problems getting their employees home from business. They pointed out that it used to be that Saturday and Sunday was pretty much a shutdown time for businesses. That is not the case now. One of the major changes here is to increase service on Saturday and Sunday. The other is to increase service in the evenings. So from my contacts with the business community, they were saying this is good. This is going to help them. And of course, I'd rather see us having people working rather than just being on welfare. The other thing that I'm hopeful is that this will really increase the ridership on the evenings and weekends, as we've heard from our customers that they want. And so let's see how this works. If we find that we don't have those riders coming out, I saw Commissioner Deitman talking about a report that he saw that another agency did this and the ridership increase exceeded that. I sincerely hope that will happen. So with the guidance from my council, I can report that I'm supporting the millage increase to 0.75.
Thank you very much. Next in the queue is Commissioner Eggers, and then Mayor Beavis.
Just real quick, on page 10 of the presentation, there's some scenarios that go out. I guess it starts in 2016 forecast and it goes out through 2021, essentially showing a 5-year plan that, and regardless of the scenario that you pick, it shows us in the red as far as reserves at the end of 2020. And I'm wondering, just as we think of in our own particular cities and budgets, how many budgets have been put together in that way, where in the next 5 years that you're going to be running these deficits. And I'm wondering how wise it is to be pulling together plans like this that simply say, well, it's going to be negative. It's going to be negative in year 3, in some cases in year 4, for sure, in all cases in year 5. These are dramatic numbers, and yet we haven't begun to address that as a board, how we're going to overcome that. I keep hearing things from different people that will be approaching federal government, state government, MPO, all these different groups about additional funding. But yet we're ready to pass a budget tonight that talks about buses and the types of buses and the numbers of buses without any adjustments there. We're willing to take on a new service expansion plan, which I'm not going to root against. I hope it works and I hope it's very successful. But I talked about putting a pilot together, not utilizing the last bit of millage that we had. I'm just not sure I understand the fiscal caution that we should be having on behalf of our riders that clearly say, yeah, we want more service, but we know that we want there to be a base service in year 4 and 5 and 6 when it looks like we're going to be operating some pretty hefty negative numbers. So Again, I just caution everybody on this, using your last bit of millage here when I don't know what our home values are going to do in the next few years. The rollback rate, whatever that would be this year, my gosh, that's a big number to be using, and yet that's not enough for us. And we're going to use the balance of it on a program, on an expanded service that we hope will work. I see no reason why we can't use a pilot and see how it works, market it that way, and come back if it's successful, and be proud of it if it's successful. And I don't want to hear that when you put a service in place, well, you just can't take it away. Well, when we stop having revenues exceed expenses on an annual basis, you're going to have to start making choices. It's either going to be cutting personnel, it's going to be cutting services, or it's going to be, you're going to have to do something to balance the budget. And frankly, I'm a little bit concerned by what I see here. And so I'm not going to be supporting the millage rate tonight. I think it's irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Eggers. And our next speaker is Mayor Beavis.
Thank you. I kind of feel like this is the voice, and when you push the button, my chair should spin around because you see it light up. I don't want to repeat a lot of what I said at our last meeting, other than the fact that I also agree that I don't think we're in a position where we need to raise our millage to the last point that we can raise it. Having said that, there have been comments that have been made that how do we go to the MPO or anybody else to ask for money if we haven't maximized our own monies in whatever way, shape, or form that is. And you know my stance on trying to get the non-participating municipalities to participate. I think that's one way. And in the city of Oldsmar, we just, approved our millage rate. We haven't raised our millage rate for 25 years. And in fact, in that same 25 years, we have reduced our millage rate. Yet we continue to get funding. We got $1.3 million from the state for our Olympic-style BMX track. We got about $11 million from Swift Mud for our reverse osmosis water plant. So I don't know that that completely agrees with the logic that was brought forward, that we need to spend all of our money before we go asking anybody else for anything else. So I, again, will not be supporting the millage rate. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Beavis. And our next speaker is Commissioner Scott.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The concerns that I have are very similar. We have a little over $3 million budget surplus from last year, and basically just by showing up for work, we're getting a $3.1 million increase just because of the increased property values. To me, I just don't understand why $6.1 million isn't enough. I think it is. But also on the major budget assumptions, I've noticed that the increased passenger fares with increased service is shown as $100,000 in tonight's presentation, but it was $200,000 previously. So I kind of have a question there. Which one is it?
It's $200,000. We made that adjustment. We made that adjustment prior to the first budget hearing, and the budget, it includes $200,000. I did notice that incorrectly, on the budget summary document that was included, that has not been updated, but we'll make sure that is updated on the website. It will be $200,000 on revenue estimated for the new service.
Okay, well, I appreciate you clarifying that point for me, but those are my comments and my concerns. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. And I do not have any other speakers in the queue. So I will ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 16-4 for our fiscal year 2017 millage rate.
So moved.
I'm going to read it first. Sorry.
Okay, great.
Your turn.
You're on.
Sorry, I'm going to read the resolution first before we adopt it. Resolution number 2016-14, a resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority fixing the final millage rate to be levied for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016 and ending September 30th, 2017, and providing for an effective date. And now you can call for a motion.
Okay. So I call for a motion to adopt Resolution 16-14 fiscal year 2017 millage rate.
So moved.
And I hear Commissioner Welsh for the motioner, and our second came from
Barkley?
Joe Barkley. Thank you. Rachel, will you please open the voting system?
Now's when your chair spins around.
Yeah, what is this when we spit out?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which page we're on. Okay. Does everyone see?
Joe didn't get it, it doesn't look like.
Yeah,
Okay.
what's the magic?
Joe doesn't get the vote.
I can't get any of my documents.
Do we need to be on on any certain page in Granicus in order to see?
No.
It's popped up on some.
Popped in mine.
So who doesn't have a voting pop-up? So Commissioner Long.
You joined, Janet, officially join it?
Yes, it was
Okay.
already set up when I got here, but no.
Joe doesn't, so.
And Joe doesn't either?
This is a borrowed piece of equipment that I've broken here.
So the borrowed equipment is the equipment that's not online?
Everybody else did it?
Yeah, you're gonna have to manually, he's gonna have to manually vote.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is there any
What did you,
protocol on who does manual vote?
no, I mean,
So-
as long as
She's got
everyone
Okay, so the
votes.
commissioners who are able to vote, please do so. And then the commissioners who are not able to vote on their call, please let Rachel know your vote, and she will log it in for you. So Commissioner Barkley?
Here,
have
he's
you-
up there.
Okay.
He's on there.
And
Streamers
is
the only one missing.
Wait a
And
second.
Janet's the only one we're waiting on.
My name isn't even up there.
Oh, she'll put it in.
It won't be.
Hey, Janet, would you like me to vote for you?
No. Please don't. Totally ruined my reputation.
Janet,
Commissioner Long, tell Rachel your vote.
I'm sorry? Yes or no? Yes.
Did you join the meeting?
yeah, it was the only one.
Okay, Rachel, will you please close the voting machine and announce the result? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, part of our process here is I need to announce this. So at our PSTA Board of Directors meeting, public hearing for Wednesday, September 28th, 2016, at 6 PM. Our millage rate for fiscal year 2017. The fiscal year 2017 proposed millage rate is .7500. The fiscal year 2017 rolled back rate is .6838. The fiscal year 2017 proposed millage rate of .7500 is 9.68% greater than the rolled back rate. PSTA's millage rate limit is .7500. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to H on our agenda, 2H. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 16-15, our fiscal year 2017 PSTA budget. Before I get a motion in a second, Nikki, would you please read the resolution?
Thank you. Resolution number 16-15, a resolution of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority adopting the final budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016 and ending September 30th, 2017 for carrying on the duties and obligations of the authority and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the resolution 16-15.
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Johnson and a second also from Commissioner Barkley. In the voting system?
No comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'll take board member comment.
What about public comment? We don't have to.
Public,
Well,
Well,
Public comment was on,
the public comment was on for both, but, and we didn't have any other cards, but if there are members of the public who have submitted cards within that time, that's okay.
Both.
Okay, so, voting. Now, so does, we're opening for voting.
For board, I think. I don't have my vote card. Yeah.
So Commissioner Long is, hers is not showing up. Is everybody else okay? So commissioners, please vote.
Problematic over here.
And Commissioner Barkley, yours is not. Would all the other commissioners whose iPads are connected, please cast your vote? And then Commissioner Barkley, would you please indicate to Rachel your vote? Rachel, Commissioner Barkley says, is voting yes. And Commissioner Long, indicate your vote to Rachel.
I did. So yes.
Okay, showing now.
Okay, Rachel, please close the voting system. And, oh, now you're up there. Well, she entered her automatically, so. Okay, the motion passes 9-3. Thank you.
Debate the other night.
Now we will move into our regular PSTA board meeting. And now's the opportunity for public comment on our consent agenda items or any other topic not on today's agenda. For those of you who would like to speak about any of our action items on today's agenda, we certainly will give you that opportunity when the item is discussed. Please fill out a green card, bring it to Rachel, and then she'll bring it up to me.
I think he left.
Okay, we have a green card from Mr. Tom Rask and Sully Grasso. I think Mr. Rask has left. Okay, the next card is from Mr. Carl Heisenbuttel. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, I'm having,
Actually, you did a good job.
okay.
So anyway, I just want to talk about like the fact that you guys have been cutting service and increasing the rates. Pasco County has recently decided to go forward with providing Sunday service up there. I don't know, they don't have as much money as Pinellas County by a long shot. And I feel they're being more progressive than Pinellas County. Pinellas County, or PSTA, I feel is going backwards because they're charging more money, but yet they're cutting service. You still don't have a Route 62 that runs on Sunday. Like I said in past meetings, there are a lot of churches on Belcher Road, probably over 30 or 40. Your real time works relatively good, but sometimes I'll miss a bus by like 2 minutes or less. When, if you have GPS, a bus should know when another bus is coming in and connect with that bus. I still feel that you're not making buses connect better, and when all these changes come forth on October 2nd, I have a feeling it's going to make things a lot worse for commuters here in Pinellas County to get to work on time by having to connect with a bus, get on one bus, go to another bus, wait for another bus. We have a traffic nightmare on a lot of the major roads here in Pinellas County. I think you ought to seriously think about making some more changes to the bus system as far as providing more bus service, not cutting bus service, and also making buses connect better. And like I've said in the past, all it takes is like just going through the numbers and trying to make the buses connect better by time management. You know, I realize we don't live in a perfect world as far as the traffic is concerned, or road conditions, or weather conditions, or buses, or car accidents, or whatever, but I still think you can do a better job. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Judy Snyder.
Good evening. I'm not used to this.
Good evening. You can
Hi.
bring the microphone a little bit lower if that's
Okay.
better for you.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay. I'm retired now after 40 years of working for the county. And now I do service work with the dog. He's not just a service dog, but he's a therapy dog. I go to All Children's Hospital. I go to the library for children who have special needs. and I go to Mease Hospital, and I'm in 62. I'm in Safety Harbor. It took me 6 months to figure out 10 different places I go, so I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Is there somebody that will be able to help me? I put all the addresses everywhere I have to go. Oh, will I still be able to commute? I don't know what to do.
Yes, ma'am, and our staff person, Cassandra Borchers, who's right behind you, will be able to walk with you through your questions and
Beautiful.
help get that settled.
Yes, thank you. And one other thing. I have the GO. Is that accepted everywhere? It's the PSTA GO. It's the 31 days for seniors?
Yes.
Because I thought I read on one of
Yes.
the places that it wasn't accepted. Oh, I'm not sure where, but it will be accepted everywhere.
Everywhere on PSTA.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Ms. Snyder. Are there any other cards? I don't have any, if there's anyone else who wants to speak. So, thank you very much. So our next item on our agenda is our awards and recognition for our outgoing board member, Commissioner Ken Welch. I'm glad that we're going to be taking a brief moment to recognize the great work of County Commissioner Ken Welch, whose service on the PSTA board is, at least temporarily, coming to an end tonight. And Brad, if you will please recognize the commissioner.
Is this on now? Yeah. Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think it is a great opportunity. I know all of us, I think we have some Commissioner Welch groupies in the audience who have come here for this event. Some great guys from Care Ride and Vince as well. We all know that Commissioner Welch has shown fantastic passion for public transportation throughout his 9 years on PSTA. He has always been an advocate for our customers. We all know that. And he has been a true leader, not just when he was the chair of PSTA, but even when he hasn't been the chair, when there have been issues that have either had different opinions on the PSTA board to find a compromise or with a customer. Every step of the way, he has shown me, and I know he's shown all of us, great leadership. With 4 county commission seats on the PSTA board, as the chair said, I'm not sure how long you will be gone from this dais. You might come back, but regardless of how long that is or when you might come back, I do think it's very important. I think we all think it's very important to recognize the service that you have done, you have provided to the PSTA, to our staff, the leadership. You've been on the board since October 24th of 2007, and it's been a great pleasure to work with you. You have really done a great service to our community, so thank you very, very much. Thank you. Yes, we'd like to take a photo.
This is heavy.
Yeah. And you get your gold-plated bus pass? Lifetime bus?
This is not real gold, Commissioner.
I think there might be a few board members who might want to say something.
Board member comments,
And
hit your
then-
button.
Well, I was thinking,
Thank you. Yes.
Well, Brad, thank you. You sounded like I was going to do your evaluation again, so thank you. I was just thinking about when I started, George W. Bush was still president. Charlie Crist was our governor. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, went to college, graduated, worked a year, and came back, all in the time that I've been on PS. So a lot has changed. I think we are a stronger organization, more focused on the path forward. I think we've been through some challenging times with the recession, with Greenlight, but I think we came out a stronger organization, and it's really been a blessing to serve. I want to thank the PSTA staff, the folks out there that put the service on the ground. I want to say thank you to all the PSTA employees, and certainly to this board, a diverse board, but a board that is focused on moving our community forward. And one thing that hasn't changed is the vital importance of transit. I was on Facebook sitting out in the parking lot, and I was telling Vince, top of the news feed was a lady who lost her car and had to use our service, and she was using Route 59 and had a little problem with the signage, and she posted it on Facebook. I mean, folks use this every day, and it's just been a blessing to serve. Don't know what the future holds, but you'll always have a friend, no matter where God puts me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And when Commissioner Welch takes his seat, we'll go to you, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Well, Commissioner Welch, I'd like to thank you for your vote to put me on the PSTA board. When I was representing the county as a citizen during my hiatus between times on the Clearwater Council, and so that's...
So you were a county rep?
I was a county rep,
I
yes.
like that.
So thank you, and it was a pleasure to do that, and Mr. Scott applied and was appointed, and that led to my coming back as a city rep, so thank you for that. The one thing that, in addition to what Mr. Miller has said, is that I really appreciate your use of humor to lighten up some of the more serious moments that we have here, and as J.B. Johnson says, we can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. Absolutely. And I look forward to your support on the commission.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments? Well, I would like to thank you, Commissioner Welch. Your insight, your experience, and your leadership has been so important to making this organization stronger and making this board effective. And one of the things I so admire about you is your ability to really get in and understand and ask good budget questions. You bring a great skill set for talking about the budget, but you also are so great on strategy and lay of the land and the regional picture. And you know, you're outstanding on at the front of the ship, looking ahead at the horizon, making sure we're headed in the right direction. And you do it in a way that you're ever so mindful of our mission, our staff, and the people that we serve. So thank you. And I whether you're wearing a PSTA hat or not, you're going to continue to be a strong voice for regional transportation, and we're going to continue to look to your leadership.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much.
And, okay, Commissioner Eggers, and then Commissioner Long.
Well, I certainly didn't want to pass on the opportunity to express my appreciation. I've been on the commission for just almost 2 years, and in that short period of time, I have really grown to respect the way you approach your job, the way you approach things at the commission, the way you approach things on this board. You bring such a calm demeanor, an analytical one that, even though I think sometimes might be wrong. No, I knew that was coming. I'm kidding. I knew that was coming.
From the commissioner on the 4th to the commissioner on the 7th, I really admire everything that you do, and I really think you are a man with high ethics and integrity, and I think all of us, if we aspire to be like that, would be better public servants. So I just really wanted to say thank you for your dedication to all of the residents of Pinellas County.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Long.
Yes, well, Commissioner Welch, I can really barely get
I know where you're going. Don't
I
start crying.
just admire you so deeply. And from the time that I first came on the county commission, you have been an incredible role model for me, and I just wish and pray that I could have a little bit of you rub off on me and my spontaneity and your character and your temperament and your moral compass is just so solid. You've been a terrific friend, a great mentor, and an outstanding public servant in every way. Your ability to take a very spirited conversation and pull it down and focus on the agenda and what the issue really is remarkable, especially given all the different folks that we work with. I admire that, and I am so much going to miss you here.
Thank you.
But I have the best of both worlds, because I still get to be with you on the commission.
Yes, you do.
Oh, you made it sound like he was leaving the planet or something.
Now,
Okay.
you'll see when he's not here, what a huge void that is.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for your passion.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. And then our next speaker is Commissioner Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah. When I took office in Pinellas Park, I was informed, congratulations in being the newest member of council. You get to represent us on PSTA. It comes with the job. And I wasn't terrified, but I was pretty close to it. And you have made it my passion, my love, my opportunity to be on LCD. It has been the best part of me getting to represent Pinellas Park and being on Pinellas Park Council so I could represent them here. Ken even rode with me in a boat on Pinellas, on Park, going up Park, going from west to east on Park. Can you believe that, on a boat? And his family joined him, and it's been the best part of every Christmas parade since. Thank you, and thank you for being
Thank you,
you and
Commissioner.
helping me.
Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Commissioner Wheeler Bowman and then Commissioner Gerard, and I see Commissioner Barkley just joined the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ken, our connection is a little different because of family, distant family by marriage. And I just want to say, I look at you and you are an amazing public servant. And I thank you for your passion. I see you a lot in the community and the things that you do. And I strive to be that way. So I'm going to miss you on here, even though I'm the newbie, but I'll see you in St. Pete. And thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for your mentorship, your guidance, everything. And when I grow up, I can truly say I want to be like you. I do.
Killing me.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gerard.
Well, yeah, ditto to everything that's been said. And I was just going to say, when I grow up, I want to be Ken Welch. Although that might be a little difficult. Because I'm not sure I have the temperament for it. But yeah, I certainly appreciate in the 2 years I've been on the county commission, I've learned a lot from you. Not that I can necessarily implement it yet, but but I do appreciate, we're working on it. I do appreciate your passion and your level-headedness, and yeah, you've been a real role model for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Commissioner Barkley and then Commissioner Bevis.
Ken, well, thank you very much for all the guidance that you've given me personally, and I appreciate the fact that you've given us all guidance here on the board. For those of you folks out in the audience, you don't realize what a technocrat we have here that we're going to be losing. Ken knows more about technology than I think all of us put together. He's always doing something with a new piece of technology equipment. He's always doing all kinds of things that I have no idea how he does it. But his guidance has been tremendous in terms of the kinds of things that he's done to really move PSTA forward into the 21st century and we're all going to miss him tremendously, not only us here on the board, but you folks out there as well. So we all owe him a tremendous vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Beavis. Mayor Beavis.
I echo a lot of the comments that have been made. This is my second time on the PSTA with you, and as you indicated earlier, this is a much different machine than it was the last time I was there. With the implementation of the committees, I think it's a much stronger board, and I think that's a lot to do with the leadership that you're a part of and have been a part of for 9 years to move us forward and focus. I love hearing your dialogue. While we might not always agree, and that's just the nature of our business, you bring a very thoughtful dialogue to why you make the decisions you do, and I think as an elected official, and I know you do that at the county level as well, I think that's very important. You have a purpose behind why you do the things that you do, and so you'll definitely leave a big hole on here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And our next person in the queue is Commissioner Dighton, and then Commissioner Scott.
I just want to say I really am going to be missing you on this board. It was fun when I used to sit next to you over there, and I'd see you scribbling all sorts of stuff on your thing, and then you'd speak, and it just was not what you were talking about or what you're written about. But it was always, it was succinct. It was always there, and there was just so much thought that went into everything you did, and we really are going to miss you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I look forward to your work on the Planning Committee as chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ken, been a pleasure to work with you.
My pleasure, Brian.
You've been a tremendous board member, and I thought you were a great chairperson. You were never afraid to tackle a tough issue, kept the meetings moving, and we're always able to keep opinions in check, and I've learned a tremendous amount from you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to working with you again somewhere soon.
As do I. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And now I'll entertain a motion to not let Commissioner Welch go.
Move approval of that one.
Second.
Bring that vote button up.
Thank you. So next on our agenda are our committee updates. So 5A, Transit Riders Advisory Committee. Is Miss Elaine Mann in the audience, or someone here on behalf of TRAC?
Madam Chair, I think Ms. Mann is not here. She texted me before the meeting that she was trying to get here, but I don't think she's going to be able to make it. She has a house flooding problem that she's trying to deal with, so I don't think she's coming.
Okay, so if she does make it in time, we'll make room for her.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to 5B, Forward Pinellas. Vice Chair Julie Bajowski is absent, so I'm going to read the statement. Mayor Bajowski is our NPO representative on the board. The Forward Pinellas report to PSTA on September 13th, multimodal transportation project priority list. After months of discussion and workshops, the Forward Pinellas Board approved our first multimodal transportation priority project list. The list includes 3 transit projects from PSTA's adopted priority list, and that includes the Central Avenue Bus Rapid Transit, the Clearwater Beach to Tampa International Airport Regional Transit Service, and thirdly, the transit operations and enhancements. The Forward Pinellas Board also approved the top 5 priorities for the Tampa Bay TMA, which is Transportation Management Area, which includes 2 of the above transit projects within its regional express bus priority, as well as other transit projects. The regional priorities of the TMA are, number 1, Tampa Bay Express Phase 1, number 2, the West Shore Multimodal Center and connections to downtown Tampa and Tampa International Airport. 3 is the CXS Rail Corridors Project. Number 4 is the Regional Farebox System with PSTA and HART. and 5 is our regional express bus. There is a big discussion going on with the federal proposal to merge MPOs. The Forward Pinellas Board discussed the federal notice of proposed rulemaking regarding possibly consolidating our MPOs and provided direction to staff regarding an independent evaluation of regional governance options and what that process would be, what the funding looks like, and the timeframes. The board agreed by consensus that the Tampa Bay TMA Leadership Group was an effective forum to focus these conversations regarding regionalism. And lastly, our update on waterborne transportation. Forward Pinellas is hosting a technical forum on waterborne transportation on October 7th, 2016 at Madeira Beach City Hall. And that is our MPO report. Commissioner Eggers, I know you're also on MPO. I wasn't sure if there was anything else you wanted to add. Okay. Thank you very much. So, and Brad, you're recognized?
I don't have anything further to add.
Okay, so that was a ghost button. Okay. So our next update, 5C, Forward Pinellas Local Coordinating Board, Commissioner Johnson.
Push the button, right?
I got it.
Okay. This is probably the happiest report I get to read because we got to do something at this meeting that we've been looking forward to for years. And somebody kept telling me, hang in there. The Forward Pinellas MPO Local Coordinating Board, which I chair, met on September 20th in downtown Clearwater. Highlights include: we approved the state-required annual operating report and Transportation Disadvantage Service Plan, TDSP. The TDSP now reflects the changes to the PSTA DART paratransit providers that begin on October the 1st. The LCB received an update from Pinellas County EMS regarding stretcher vans. The LCB and EMS have been working together on this issue for years. On October the 4th, Pinellas County EMS is taking changes to their regulations to the Board of County Commissioners for approval that would allow stretcher patients who do not need medical attention to be transported in vans as opposed to ambulances. This saves the customers money and frees up space for other ambulance patients. Just to let you know, the cost per ride is $590 in an ambulance. We don't have the price for the how much they're going to bid to charge for using a stretcher van, but it is better than half as much, and sometimes, what, a fourth as much, Brian? Yep. This saves customers money and frees up space for other ambulance patients. The other part of that is that there have been times that when an ambulance is delivering somebody from a hospital to a nursing home or a hospital home, the regular EMS that the county contracts with is held up waiting for a Sunstar ambulance. So it's a win-win for everyone. We also received a presentation on PSTA's funding, federal mobility enhancement grant, and other upcoming initiatives. Finally, the LCB voted to support PSTA's continued designation as the county's community transportation coordinator and asked staff to work with PSTA to advance this support to the state as the item on PSTA's consent agenda tonight notes. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. So moving right along, next on our agenda is our consent agenda. Board members may pull any items for discussion. If there are any items to be pulled or if there are not any comments on our minutes, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion approved. Second.
And did you get a second, Rachel? I heard Mayor Beavis was. Great. And Rachel, please open the voting system. Commissioners who have the voting system appearing on your computer, please vote. Are there any commissioners who don't see? Okay. So Commissioner Long, would you please indicate to Rachel your vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Barkley, will you please indicate your vote? And thank you. So Rachel, please close the voting system. And the motion passes 12-0 to accept the consent agenda, to approve the consent. So next, we move on to information items. 7A is the St. Pete Beach Draft Commitment Agreement for our BRT route. And I see Heather Sobush approaching the microphone. And Brad, you want to introduce Heather and her PowerPoint?
Yeah. Cue me up.
For some reason, I just don't want to turn on Brad's mic. Okay.
So, thank you, committee members, both the planning and finance saw some of this presentation. The real purpose of bringing this to your attention tonight is that we hope to come to back with an action item at your next month's meeting at the end of October for a vote on a proposed agreement between PSTA and the city of St. Pete Beach, where they will fully fund the incremental cost of the bus rapid transit line to St. Pete Beach. I think Heather will have a brief discussion of the timeline. I want to thank several of you for already agreeing to come with me and Heather down to St. Pete Beach. Coming up on Tuesday, October 11th at 4 o'clock is their workshop. And then at the end of the month, on October 25th, Tuesday, October 25th at 6 o'clock is their vote, right before the PSTA meeting the next morning on the 26th. Heather?
Good evening. Okay, so as Brad mentioned, this is an information item that'll come back in October. This obviously would be our first bus rapid transit service for Pinellas County. And as I presented last month, both the technical analysis and the public outreach are leading us toward St. Pete Beach as that beach terminus. From both a ridership and a system perspective, this is the best corridor. Because they are not a member of PSTA, we have drafted an agreement, which I believe you have, that's very similar to the agreement we already have with St. Pete Beach for their trolley service, wherein the members of PSTA would not be subsidizing any of the capital and operating funding for the portion of the service operating in St. Pete Beach. So as Brad mentioned, there is a workshop on the 11th of October with the St. Pete Beach Council, and I have October 27th as the council meeting.
I think we got the dates wrong. I think it's the 25th.
Okay, so October 25th is the council meeting, and then our meeting would be the 26th. The reason for this aggressive schedule to get an agreement with St. Pete Beach is so that we can complete the environmental work and the design by next summer and get into the fiscal year 2019 budget. This is considered a good project from the federal perspective. We've had several meetings with the Federal Transit Administration, and we'd like to get it before them sooner than later. And then, of course, we'd like to complete the project and implement on time. If we're not able to make a decision in the next couple of months, or in October, I guess it's only 1 month now, with either the St. Pete Beach Council or at this board level, it will likely result in a delay of the project because of that tight timeline to get the package to the Federal Transit Administration by the end of next summer. So that could delay the project by a year or so. We did bring this item to both the joint planning and finance committee. And with that, I will turn it over to our planning committee chair.
Great, and before we do that, I just want to note, also the PSTA board meetings is October 26th.
Right, it's 25, 26, not, is that, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Commissioner Welch.
25. I don't know why I'm writing these meetings down.
Yeah.
But
You can come.
I can, or watch it on streaming video. The planning and performance management committees did review this, and we had a good conversation about it. I think the consensus, and it may have been unanimous, but there certainly was a consensus that the St. Pete Beach route is the best route, the most productive route. But the fact remains that we are bringing our first premium bus service to a city that is not a member of our ad valorem service area. If they were a part of our service area, they would contribute about $1.8 million to PSTA. As it stands now, they are offering to move up from $500,000 to $1 million. So in my view, the delta is still $800,000. I think the best of all worlds would be to have this great new service, but also have St. Pete Beach as a full partner with PSTA. And it'd be great if they could make up the rest of that gap between the $1 million they're offering and the $1.8 that they would pay. Realistically, a referendum is not going to pass in St. Pete Beach, but there are other ways that they could make up that gap. The business community seems to be very supportive of bringing more tourists to St. Pete Beach. But I think there are some ways that they can help make up that gap and become a full partner with PSTA, and that would also mean that we could add more service from our regular routes to St. Pete Beach. So I would hope we would continue to work on that. They are also asking for partnership with the county through a CRA that has a multimodal facility in it. Doesn't really make sense that we would move forward with that without having them as a full participant with PSTA. So I look forward to these upcoming meetings. I don't know, Chair Barkley, if you had any other comments.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Commissioner Welch and Madam Chair. We did have a joint meeting last week. We did discuss the fact that the city of St. Pete Beach is not a full member of PSTA. However, this is the best and most logical route for the new rapid transit service. And both myself and also hopefully a couple of folks from one of the cities I represent, South Pasadena, who will be directly impacted by this service, will be attending the meeting at South Pasadena, at St. Pete Beach, to do everything we can to ask that the City Commission there move this along. We want to continue to do everything possible to make sure that this passes before the time frame that Ms. Sobush alluded to, because it would delay our project essentially a year. And it's very important that this get rolling, because it's a pilot project that we hope to do with other projects around the PSTA area. So everything we can do to move this along is going to be extremely important. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And next in the queue is Commissioner Long, then Mayor Beavis, then Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, and I'm not exactly sure, maybe Cassandra, you might be the person to answer this, or Brad. The federal government, in their very robust outline that they gave it to us when we were in Washington, will they approve this for us if in fact the city of St. Pete Beach does not? How does that work? Because I thought there was in their plan, there was a very specific request from the feds that we do a lot of citizen engagement, is there not?
Yes, and maybe Brad would like to answer that as well. But we, as part of our application to the FDA, under the Small Starts Guidance, we'll have to give them a financial package, so our financial plan. And so we'll have to make those commitments for the local share. We anticipate that we would ask for the total capital side of the project, 50% from the federal government, 25% from the state, and have to produce the other 25%. And so what they would like to see is that commitment from us and that commitment from the state. I think for the local share of the capital portion, that it doesn't matter to them where that comes from, if it comes from PSTA or it comes from the cities, or as long as that commitment is there. We will also have to show them the operating commitment.
Good to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Beavis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Much like my stance on the millage rate and the budget, while I didn't vote for it, I do support the service increases that we have. I just disagreed with the methodology in which we got there. I'm excited about the expanded service. And again, I mentioned it earlier, we as municipalities contribute to a lot of things that we don't necessarily use. The education system being one of them. That, I don't have kids anymore, but I contribute to it as a, taxpayer. And I look at our regional transportation very similarly. And the other day I was explaining it to somebody and I equated it, as is always easy, to food. And, a PSTA picnic where Pinellas County brings the hamburgers and hot dogs and all the other municipalities bring covered dishes, with the exception of a few. Some of them just bring a fork and want to eat everything, and some just bring enough food for themselves. And so they kind of understood that when I explained it that way, because they like food. But, I think if we're going to have regional transportation, and I understand that a referendum is very hard to pass, but I think we need to start the process on that, because I can't believe that, in St. Pete Beach, using that as an example, we as PSTA don't make those residents get off the bus at the St. Pete Beach border. They continue to ride it throughout the system. And I brought this up at the Mayor's Council a couple of weeks ago, and then the other municipalities. And I think, while a referendum would be, a 0.75, realistically, as Commissioner Welsh mentioned, it's really not, because, it would be 1.8 million at the full amount, but they're already, through other means, contributing $1 million. So it would only be, a proportionate amount to make up that difference. So that might be a route to go. And then the other municipalities that are just bringing a fork to the picnic, I'd like to see them, participate as well. If we're going to move ourselves forward, as we use in everything, I think that those municipalities need to be a part of that system. And, if we had the extra $800,000, we probably wouldn't have had to raise our millage rate. We had found, I think, about $500,000, which would have enhanced service for them and everybody else. So while I think the BRT is great, and I think the numbers, and I'm logical enough to know that the numbers indicate that that's the best route, and, just because they don't participate doesn't mean we don't want to provide the best service that the BRT can, but I think we need to really work on trying to get the non-participating or partially participating municipalities to be a part of the team. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Johnson.
I would like to ask, the only thing I've heard of is St. Pete Beach. I know that there are opportunities for other cities to participate in this, namely Madeira Beach. And I haven't heard one word, one report. I mean, you can do 2 reports at one time. It's not working, right?
It is
It's working.
It is now?
Yes.
Okay. Do I need to repeat it, or did it?
I remember what I said about technology first.
Okay, I just think that when we're seeing if Madeira Beach might like to do this, since St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island don't want to participate?
Well, we did evaluate the 3 corridors, Madeira Beach, Treasure Island, and St. Pete Beach, on some technical criteria. I believe that's in the last month's board packet. And this one is coming out as the best in terms of serving the most people, taking the most trips off the road, the ridership, primarily because there's the largest population density of the 3 beaches and the most market for the tourists, but also because that route between downtown St. Petersburg and South Pasadena has a lot of attractions, obviously in the St. Pete end, and so getting people to and from the largest tourist destination to downtown provides for the best service. And our goal was to evaluate this for the best service for the system and for PSTA, as well as our community. So I think what we're trying to do is pursue getting funding from that community that does meet those objectives. So
Okay, so you just gave me all the best reasons that St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island need to join and be a part of this, because they have the most, the best, and everything else. And they're letting us pick it up with our limited budget. It's just amazing that we're not saying, okay, you guys don't want in, Madeira Beach would love to be there, and this is how we're going to do it. I know that we're bringing the fork to eat. However, I'd like to have a good dinner with that fork, and St. Pete Beach isn't doing it.
Thank you. Mayor Beavis, did you want to respond?
Just one quick comment I wanted to make. You know, to those that don't participate or partially participate and only want to pay for the services that their city uses. You know, I live in North County, and that's Dunedin, Safety Harbor, Tarpon Springs, and Oldsmar. And, you know, with the exception of the Jolly Trolley, we probably have the least amount of service from PSTA. And I represent Oldsmar, Safety Harbor, and Tarpon Springs. And again, without the Jolly Trolley component of it, you know, if Oldsmar was to pay for only the service that they use, we have one bus, the 67, that runs periodically through our city. But yet, again, Oldsmar, Safety Harbor, Tarpon Springs, and Dunedin are participates in that because we want to have a full bus system for Pinellas County. So I just wanted to throw that in because we're probably one of the lower users, but yet a big contributor to it. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dighton.
Yeah, I would say that the idea of getting the St. Pete Beach people to pay their extra 500,000 or 700,000 or whatever it's going to be is probably going to be our best bet with them. And I don't know if we can be actually sure that they will. I would remind you to think back to how the voting went for Pinellas, for the Green Light Pinellas, and you go all the way up and down on this part of the Pinellas, and they voted against. I mean, they were down very, very low. So if you think that somehow they're going to turn around and say, you know, we'll put 66% or whatever into this, I don't think it's going to happen. I think you've got to get the people in St. Pete Beach to actually go ahead, and I would agree with Commissioner Johnson. Maybe we should talk about Madeira and say this is not ideal for us, but people can come into Madeira and they can go up and they can go down. It'll take them a little bit longer, but that's an option that we should be talking about. And I would also say that we can go into this with St. Pete Beach and get turned down, but there is no reason to think that when we go after them the next time that they're going to vote for us. So I think that we've got to tell them, you know, if you're not going to go with us, Madeira Beach is a very good possibility for us. Thank you.
And Petra, did you want to go last, Brad, or?
Either way.
Okay, well then we'll go in the queue. You're next in the queue.
Okay, saved by electronics. I would like to express my thanks to, I heard of some great leadership at the last Mayor's Council by Mayor Beavis, Mayor Bajowski, and I think Commissioner Long, you were there. I know also Mayor Kreisman has weighed in on this, and there's been a lot of discussion with at least the mayor of St. Pete Beach, much of what I think you described today about being part of a greater region has been expressed to them. But no doubt, I mean, I believe there was an article in the paper today or online today that indicates that at least the reporter talked to some unknown officials, it said, and they're not yet apparently supporting this. The Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber of Commerce unanimously supports it. The hotels, all the hotels that we've talked to support it strongly and told the mayor that they support it, being funded out of their city budget. So I am very grateful that you took the time during that council, that luncheon, and then to any of you who might come on the 11th and talk to their commissioners. You know, obviously there's dynamics there. We talked about this at the committees last week where there's residents and then there's the hotels and businesses, and maybe they're not always on the same page. But as you described, as the county commission has described, we are part of a greater region. We are a whole transit network. As Heather said, we're trying to look for the best route for this system. When you get 9,000 riders if you go to St. Pete Beach, and you only get 2,000 riders if you go to Madeira Beach, the results are fairly clear that the best route, this has been the best route for a long time. In 2007, the PSTA board voted to go to St. Pete Beach with the bus rapid transit plan back then. So my recommendation is at least we go through this process and talk to them. If it does look apparent that they're not going to be supportive of it, we will ask them not to take a vote if after we talk to each of them. But hopefully that won't be the case. They will support it. If they don't, then we'll have to circle back and decide whether we want to approach Madeira Beach and look at that option, look at some other kind of funding option for St. Pete Beach. But at least for the next month, go down this road of trying to negotiate with the council on this proposal.
Thank you. Commissioner Gerard and then Commissioner Long.
Yeah, to use my colleague's analogy, I'd like to see them bringing more than a bag of potato chips to the picnic. I do think, you know, frankly, we're going to be losing money on this thing anyway, right? I mean, it's not like the ridership is going to pay for the operation of this.
Correct.
And to go even farther in the hole by not having them pay their fair share, I don't understand that. I just, you know, I know that we've already extended $1 million to them, probably repeatedly, but your board's not supporting that. And I think we need to change that message pretty quick.
Thank you. Commissioner Long.
So I'd just like to offer a little different perspective and have you think about that for a moment, because while I totally support the continuing negotiations, I would like to remind you that there is no free lunch, and there is a danger in having this service going out to St. Pete Beach that isn't being paid for, and then residents and the businesses and the employers get really used to it and they like it. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's pretty hard to take away something once people have already had a taste of it. And then how do we get them to ever join the system? What's the argument then? Well, I haven't been paying for it for all this time. Why should I have to pay for it now? So, I mean, we are a quasi-governmental entity. We are dealing with public dollars, and I think we're going to have a tough argument to make that we've got this free service going out there. And frankly, as I said to the mayor, well, you know, maybe all those businesses that have such skin in the game need to be thinking about doing their share to help with the transportation for their folks. Just a thought going forward, whoever's going to be doing the negotiations, because again, it just is not free. And hey, I would love to be able to have transportation all around wherever I go and not have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I don't. So, okay, I'll stop now. Thank you.
Well, I certainly share in the chagrin of St. Pete Beach not participating as an ad valorem member of PSTA. I guess my concerns are I just want to be sure that we don't lose the leverage we have now to negotiate a better deal from them and to perhaps close that delta of the $800,000. That seems reasonable to use this time now to see what we can do. However, as previously as the chair of the legislative committee and having gone to DC a few times to meet with the FTA, I guess the question I have is how the FTA looks at the bigger picture, the contribution of this project to our region, and the way that they've evaluated St. Pete Beach as a better alignment, a better terminus than the other two locations. What are we losing in the trade-off by having this possibly go to Treasure Island or Madeira Beach? What we lose with either going to either one of those lesser picks, if you will, is that greater or less than the $800,000 a year from St. Pete Beach? And then just wearing my St. Pete hat, this is of enormous value to the city of St. Pete to have this go to St. Pete Beach. So, this is a quandary, and it's unfortunate that they're not being more cooperative, but I just wanted to express my thoughts on that. And the conversation will continue. So thank you. There's no other board member comments on this item, so we will move along to our next information item, which will be 7B, the Direct Connect expansion contract. And Brad, it looks like you're going to speak first, and then we'll hear from Chris Cochran with a PowerPoint.
Good evening, yes. Thank you for this. This was originally planned to be an action item on tonight's agenda, but after a really good discussion that we had with the PSTA Finance Committee last week, they recommended to move this to a discussion item with the option to take action if the adjustments and some of the questions that the Finance Committee had were answered. What the Finance Committee, I really want to thank them for a really, really good discussion that we had on this item. This is our proposed agreements with 5 private contractors to provide our first-in-the-nation, first and last mile service to our bus service. So what ultimately I hope will be an action item, and I'm confident that we have answered some of the questions, so we could take action tonight, are 5 contracts totaling an amount not to exceed $100,000 over a 1-year period with Uber and United Taxi and Care Ride, just like our pilot program. And then in addition now, Wheelchair Transport, another wheelchair company in Pinellas County, and then Lyft, the transit network company Lyft, will join in this program. I want to recognize Chair Joe Barkley and Commissioners Lisa Wheeler-Bowman, Commissioner Eggers, Commissioner Scott, and Commissioner Dighton, who are on the Finance Committee, who asked a number of questions, and Commissioner Johnson, I'm sorry, past chair of the Finance Committee, all asked really good questions and had us hone down our proposal. We are now proposing this as a second pilot, a phase 2 pilot. We've scaled back the program to, and I'll let Chris describe that in a little bit more detail. I just wanted to introduce this item and introduce Chris because I want to thank the PSTA board. I want to thank you for allowing us to be really the most innovative transit system in the United States. Allowing us to think outside the box and to try new things. The pilot program that we've done in Pinellas Park is the talk of the transit industry across the country. Chris, myself, Cassandra have been around the country talking about the partnership that we struck with Uber to provide better service for more people to catch the bus. That worked very well in Pinellas Park, and we want to expand that in different ways. I want to thank the Finance Committee for looking at this in greater detail than I think we had looked at it and identifying a number of loopholes or possible loopholes that customers might use this a different way, and we have addressed those. Chris has been working really hard with Uber over the last couple of days, and we will either have answer those questions or make some changes to it. But really, I just really wanted to express my appreciation. This board and this PSTA organization has had a great impact on the entire transit relationship with this new technology. I personally think, having been to all these conferences, that a year ago, the discussions at the in the transit world were about Uber and Lyft were just like what was happening to the taxis. As we know, Uber and Lyft have certainly changed the dynamics for taxi companies around the world. And in large part, the taxi company industry has not responded very well. They're still a very important part of our transportation network, especially here in Pinellas County, but clearly taxis play a different role just in the last year thanks to this new technology. And that was sort of the starting position for the transit world as well. Oh my gosh, Uber and Lyft are competitors for transportation. Until February, when this medium-sized system down there in Florida called PSTA, that they maybe hadn't heard of, actually took a different approach and partnered with Uber and showed that we could actually use this new technology to connect on a first and last mile and actually help the transit customer get to the bus. And now every system across the country, from the biggest in Chicago and Philly and New York, and even small systems, are calling, hopefully Chris and not me, but a lot to me too, and trying to get information about this. This is a perfect way for us to be innovative and to try to help our customers. I feel comfortable that we are now in a position that you could take action tonight to start this program next month, again for another 6-month pilot, but it's really up to you. I have stolen a lot of Chris's thunder, but it's taken a lot of innovation, but it's also taken a lot of hard work. And this guy, Chris Cochran, I call him my Uber planner because he has done such an amazing job of working with Uber and now Lyft and these millennials that work at these companies about getting this going. And so I really want to express my thanks to Chris as well. He's done a great, great job in doing this. So Chris, take it away and show them our new program.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Good evening, board members. It's a pleasure to be able to be here and have an opportunity to introduce this our proposed expansion of this program. I'll briefly give you, again, a background on what you all are aware of, that we started back in February, and then I will discuss what we proposed to the Finance Committee, and again, sort of reiterate Brad's discussion here about how critical their discussion was in how we are proposing to refine the expansion moving forward. So again, a little background. We are discussing here the Direct Connect program. Many people have had the opportunity to take advantage of this small pilot program within the heart of Pinellas Park that provides people with an opportunity to either begin or end a trip at one of two locations in the small shaded pilot area that you see. In doing so, we still currently are providing 50% subsidized rides as long as you begin or end a trip at one of these locations and remain within the shaded area, and our subsidy is maxing out at $3. So again, this was the first time that a transit agency in the nation was ever able to successfully strike a deal to be able to subsidize these types of rides with both a transportation network company and a taxi. We really had, again, a lot of national recognition from this. We've won local awards with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. We are honored with our innovation and leadership that we put forth in putting this kind of project out there. And again, I think that's a testament to the leadership of the board in providing us with that opportunity. And then ultimately, as we are here today, all of this is about demonstrating an expandable model. How does this fit into moving forward, not only for PSTA, but transit in general? So moving on to what is our program expansion vision? This is what you see before you right now is what we presented to the Finance Committee a few days ago, with the idea that we would take the small pilot area and expand it countywide, providing the opportunity of 22 different locations strategically placed throughout the county where people would be able to begin or end a ride, and we would increase our voucher subsidy from the $3 max match to actually paying the first $5 of the ride. In doing so, our objective there was really learning. We had a few really important lessons that we learned out of the pilot. Number one being the importance of a marketing strategy, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But secondly is the affordability of this program, and what is the price point at which people are still going to be willing to take advantage of this program and still get on the bus and pay the daily fare. So in thinking about in looking at what the average cost of a Uber ride is, Uber really over 95% of the pilot rides were Uber rides. Very few people took advantage of the taxi, and by far it was Uber was the chosen method mode during that sample. So, in looking at that, we established if we were to provide up to the first $5 of the ride, we would essentially be providing people with about $1, the opportunity for them to pay $1 to get to one of these locations. I think what it's important, very important for the board to recognize here, in this, these starred locations are not destinations. We are not putting them at malls. We are not putting them at entertainment destinations. They're not at Walmarts. These are strategic locations along routes where we can get people safely to connect to some of our better running routes, those that run later in the evenings, those that have better frequency, and really with the overall goal of improving accessibility, and ultimately that would, with the objective of leading to increased ridership and revenue. This generated a great deal of discussion in the Finance Committee, and it was extremely productive. It was great to hear some different ideas about concerns. Commissioner Eggers and Commissioner Scott brought up some really, really good points that made us think about where we're moving forward. Everybody did, but in particular, Commissioner Eggers specifically had some concerns, and we really took everybody's questions and concerns to address how we can maybe take a step back and move forward perhaps a little bit slower, a little bit more strategic, and leveraging what we've learned from our marketing, the importance of the marketing strategies, and addressing concerns in how we are spending these valuable dollars for this pilot. So what we're proposing here is to scale back from the 22 stops and identify our top 7 choices. What you see on the map here is still 7 locations that were part of the 22. You can see them highlighted in green. If you have a black and white copy, you should still be able to see the highlight in those stops highlighted in the graph. And these locations are really what we feel would be the best strategy moving forward for us to be able to implement very directed marketing strategies to be able to address the markets that we can take advantage of at these stops. And I think a couple of, I'll give you 3 key examples here. The Tarpon and Huey stop, number 1, all the way at the top, even through, as we looked at eliminating the North County connector on the East Lake corridor, we had a lot of concerns about people being able to get to some locations, the YMCA, there was a couple job locations on East Lake Boulevard, so we felt certainly there is a market there that we need to be able to address. And in leaving that location there, we have an opportunity to demonstrate the marketing strategy and reaching those people in the East Lake area where there absolutely is no other service, and showing that we can make this work. Another good example that we are going to focus on is right here at PSTA. We have a great stop out here. We have tremendous service. Starting October 7th, Route 4 will come all the way to the lay-by. The Route 59, which is a cross-county route, will come. Both of those every 15 minutes. And the hope here, our goal here is to really focus on looking at how we can capture commuter riders in the Carillon area. Carillon is very close to here. That would provide people with a $1 Uber ride to be able to get to their jobs at Carillon. And we have a very densely populated employment center that we can really focus our strategy on geographically and take advantage of all the people that we can hit with this marketing strategy there. And I think another one that we want to look at is in the South St. Petersburg area, and really being able to address such a densely populated area in South St. Pete, and how we can, there are certainly significant gaps in geographic coverage where it may be difficult for people to be able to walk out to a frequent route. So we have some starred locations in that area as well. And really just moving forward, I think it's important in addressing the Finance Committee's concerns that are very important. We heard there some ideas about how people might be able to game the system. And this will really allow us to sort of dial back and focus on how we can work very closely with Uber and Lyft, who have tremendous technology capabilities, to be able to put in some of the technology mechanisms that will help prevent some of this. If it means that people have to wait a certain amount of time when they get to a star to be able to leave again, so that people aren't hopping star to star, whether it means people can't actually go from one star to another star to game that system. There's a lot of great things that were brought to our attention at the Finance Committee that this will allow us to address. And I think another equal thing to look at here is the development of some performance measures and identifying how we can really develop those performance measures and how we can best apply it to the incremental expansion of this moving forward. So, and again in there as well, developing a sustainable funding strategy. I think that's very, very important. That was brought up. And again, this will provide us an opportunity to really gauge how much ridership we're able to see at stops, and how can we apply that additional revenue to be able to fund this ongoing. And if we demonstrate it well, then also the opportunity to prove that it's something that we can go for grants and additional funding for. So with that, open it to some questions.
Okay. Thank you, Chris, for the great presentation. And we have 5 speakers in the queue. And just to be clear, the robust discussion that took place had to do with the original proposal with 22 stops, and the pilot phase 2 that we're looking at that's been scaled back to 7 stops. We're all looking at that tonight for the first time. So we're going to lead off with our Finance Committee Chairman, Joseph Barkley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did have a very robust discussion. This is a very exciting concept. It's potentially revolutionary in the sense that it will allow for a smooth transition from someone going from their home or office to a bus stop, taking the bus, and then at the other end of the line being returned to their house or to their office, depending whether they were coming or going from work. The issues that were raised were numerous in our meeting, and after about, let's just say, a considerable period of time, it was my suggestion that we move this to an information item as opposed to an item coming to a vote, simply because there were so many additional questions that were raised that we simply did not have enough time to do that, and as it was, we ran into Commissioner Welch's committee's time frame.
That never happens.
It's all his fault.
This is a very exciting concept. The main thing that I want to stress is that we're doing something that hasn't been done before, and this is an opportunity for us once again at PSTA to really show the rest of the country how an innovative transportation network company can work. One question that I did have for Chris is, if we're only doing 7 of these under the revised technique, do you have a financial number for the amount of the funding that we would set aside for this reduced size trial period?
Yes, sir. So just again to clarify, if the ultimate goal of this presentation is again in addressing the contracts that would be needed to be approved, that is the same contract for all 5 people. The budget for it is $100,000, not to exceed $100,000 for 1 year. The idea here is that these 7 stops would, again, sort of extend that pilot, and we had the opportunity to then revisit after 6 months or so and then expand it to even more stops. But the contracts would be for a year, but these first 7 stops, our goal is to evaluate them for 6 months, in which case the whatever perhaps contract addendums only related to what stops they're serving would need to be addressed, but not the budget total.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is very exciting, Chris. So the stars, you think of those as transfer points? That's the location where you get an Uber ride to that point?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you all talk about why there are none on Gulf to Bay?
I believe the ultimate goal.
I'm sorry, Gulf.
On the beaches,
Gulf
yes.
Boulevard,
Well, the beaches are a destination. We do not want to provide a $5 off ride to the beach. It would be great for if we step back and we look at the ultimate vision here. If someone were to take a star to perhaps the Pasadena stop down here, or the Park Street area in downtown Clearwater, then they would have access to any number of routes to get them to the beach. The idea here is to get them to a route, not to a location. Our goal is to get them on a bus. We still want them paying.
Coverage on Gulf Boulevard.
So we
have the Suncoast Beach trolley.
Yes.
That goes up and down every 30 minutes.
Yes.
And that includes Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach?
Yes, sir, it does, yes.
Okay, just want to throw that back out there.
Slipped out.
There will be no stars in Treasure Island.
The picnic analogy was great, so that worked for me. What's the number of rides that we've paid for so far?
We started with a $40,000 budget for this initial project, and we spent about, I want to say the number's about $3,700 of that $4,000, just because it was such a small area. We had several hundred rides.
Several hundred?
Several hundred. We're actually not allowed to give you the exact number.
Why not?
As for contract reasons with Uber.
Really?
And
They haven't told us the exact number.
But they billed us a certain amount.
Right.
Yes. So we get invoiced a certain amount. So the $100,000 that we're looking at, it is not an entirely new $100,000. That budget includes the leftover from the $40,000. So essentially, the budget is in addition to the $40,000 that you've already approved before.
40.
Yes, so if you subtract, let's say, let's just round it off to 4,000. So let's say
You're going back
there's
between 4,000 and 40,000.
right. So if we've spent $4,000 of the original 40,000,
Okay.
we have 36,000 left over. The $100,000 budget is only adding 64,000 to it. It's not a whole new $100,000.
In addition to the 34,000.
Yes, thank you.
Just one other minute.
If that makes sense.
36,000.
Yes, please.
Okay. How are you gauging success if you can't share the number of rides? Or do you know the number of rides and you're gauging success based that way, you just can't share it with us?
Essentially, yes, we do get a number. It is under contract, we get a number, but it is a trade confidential secret that we cannot put out.
Can you say we met the goals that we set forward when we?
Yes, I think we can, what we can say is initially going into this as a transit agency, going into this, our goal was to show that we are getting people to use it and they are going to a bus stop. This has never been done, so we didn't really know what that number is going to be. What we do know, what we have learned, and some really great studies that have come out during our pilot is very reflective of how critical the market strategy is. And I always give this example when I'm kind of out speaking about it, is Uber was very generous in putting their own people out on the ground during some peak times for a week as people were coming off the bus, educating them on exactly how to use Uber, how to complete a trip, and in the next week, they showed us that they actually tripled the number of people that were using it successfully. So from that, we know that people, and the importance of that marketing strategy and showing people how it's being used, people will use it. And that's why the marketing strategy is so important, as I've tried to stress throughout the outreach. So. But in limiting these numbers of stops, these are not hubs like Pinellas Park Transit Center. And I think what's very good about that is that these are stops in our system that we have long history of ridership. And now we have the opportunity to really, and there's not 10 routes going there. So maybe there's only 1 or 2. So now we really do have the opportunity to gauge what impact that it will have at these stop locations.
Okay.
So I hope that answers your question.
No, I just had never, I'm sorry, I just had never understood that we wouldn't get the ridership numbers.
We served during the 6-month period of pilot program in Pinellas Park with the one stop at Pinellas Park Transit Center, about 400 rides. 400 trips were taken that got a discount to the stop.
Okay.
Is Uber listening? I don't know. But, you know, that's not a secret.
Nikki,
If you'd like me to just comment on it briefly, it's not that PSTA isn't getting the data. I don't know how to use this
Go ahead
thing.
and speak.
I'll just talk loudly. It's not that PSTA isn't receiving the data, it's that the data has been marked as a confidential trade secrets. I think that's why Chris is struggling with not broadcasting it at a public meeting, when we have to redact it from certain documents and things like that. So I think that's what he's struggling with. But it's not that PSTA isn't receiving data on it, if that makes sense.
But the board isn't.
But the board isn't.
We can provide it to you all. It just we need to include the same disclaimer that it is a confidential trade secret and information has to be redacted from public records requests. So I think that's what we're struggling with at this meeting, but we can get that information.
We're
to you all
proposing in the new agreements that we would provide ridership data to the board like we do all other types of modes. We are getting that data as we expand on our grant program with the state for low-income people who are taking Uber and cabs. We're getting that data. So this is sort of a negotiating thing that we're doing right now with Uber and Lyft. They're learning about Florida and the fact that this is all open. This is new to them, but I mean, we comply with the law, which means it's open. So we'll start providing the data that we get to the board as we move forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you. So we have 6 speakers in the queue. You'll notice that you have a red light flashing on your microphone. So the order is Commissioner Johnson, then Commissioner Johnson, Mayor Beavis, Commissioner Long, Commissioner Gerard, and Commissioner Eggers. So Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you for changing it back down to 7. It seems like a little more manageable. The estimated price does not include surge pricing by Uber or Lyft. And one of the residents of a senior community in Pinellas Park, of course, called during surge pricing and did not get to use Uber. And called me immediately and said, well, that just doesn't work at all. And how are you going to deal with that, Chris? I mean, we all want to go when it's surge pricing, and they won't give us a firm price.
Yeah, I think that's moving forward. And as you know, Uber is as new to working with transit agencies as we are with them, and that's certainly a concern that has been brought up. At this moment in time, I cannot tell you that that is going to change. What I can tell you is that before anybody accepts a ride, they are notified of exactly what the surge pricing is. What's nice now is we have Lyft. Very rarely will Lyft have a surge price. What Uber will have a surge area that is made up of anywhere from 8 to 10 zip codes at a time, and Lyft will have surge areas made up of literally a few blocks. Very rarely will people experience that. I would also tell you, while this is no guarantee, just from my experience of working with Uber and using Uber countless times, if you wait 10 minutes, it'll go away. Because what happens is, and I understand people need it now, and that's the whole point of the program, but perhaps what you can, today, what you can communicate to those people, if it's ever brought up, when a surge price comes, all the drivers flood that area because they want to make more money. And the surge only exists because there's more people requesting than there are drivers. So if you wait 10 minutes, that will go away. I'm very sorry, that's the best answer I can give you right now. Lyft will be an exceptional alternative to that. While the price is only a few cents more, so it could cost them potentially an extra 50 cents to get to the bus stop. That could be their answer in the time being. But you bring up a very good point that they're aware of, and that will be a discussion.
The benefit to our pilot program, though, it doesn't cost PSTA any more.
Yes.
Right, we pay the first $5 of the trip. If it's on surge price, that means they pay a little bit more. And, our amount that we pay is capped at the $5.
But my seniors don't. They don't care.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, in that case, they can decline the trip at that time.
Absolutely.
So if it's more than they're willing to pay, they can try it later. I'd like to thank the staff and there were other committee members for all of the good comments that came into this. I'm really thrilled that this is a pilot program. I'm also thrilled that we are refining the locations, at least to start with, so they're not destinations, that they're more connection points. And so, because otherwise I'd just take it down to City Hall in downtown Clearwater and save $5. No, I wouldn't do that, but, I mean, the concept is.
Nice of you to sacrifice.
Going to a destination, you just save money.
Flag him.
Or going to dinner at some of the wonderful restaurants in Oldsmar, for instance.
You're a star on it.
Right. I was over there Sunday night or Saturday night. Looking at the contract, Exhibit A, I see that the view will only be visible from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I wonder why we're going to 11 p.m. when we don't usually run many of our buses to these areas at that time.
Well, I think we have to look at the lowest common denominator. If we're using all set, we can't turn star locations on and off. So, I will certainly go back and double check. But whatever the latest service is to any one of those stars, it has to be open.
Service on US 19 goes to past 11.
Yeah.
But other than Huey, we don't have
Pinellas Park.
Pinellas Park.
The lay-by, well, yes.
Sure.
So, but I mean, going to Oldsmar or going to, well, Dunedin, we have the trolley that runs later. But, okay, I guess you've answered my question, that we have to do it one way or the other. The next thing, in looking down at the PSTA obligations, and maybe I'm getting picky on the contract, but it says the budget is the total maximum for all amount paid under this agreement. But you're really talking about four agreements or 5 agreements, that the 100,000 applies to all 5.
Yes, just to clarify, it's literally a pool of money that everybody is eligible to invoice to. And when that hits the max, then everybody is equally impacted.
I just might suggest to our attorney that look at that.
It should say the amounts paid under this agreement, that certain initial pilot agreement, which was the $40,000 that Chris was speaking of, and under any and all similar agreements PSTA may have with other providers to supplement rides as part of this program. So it's all the contracts, it's the prior contracts, and it's the current contract.
I stopped without reading the rest of the
That's
sentence.
okay. I'm a
apologize.
fan of the Oxford comma, so.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. That was the questions I had.
Thank you. Mayor Beavis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Welsh asked the question that I was going to ask, which I'm still somewhat perplexed by the contract language in that, you're asking a board, or they're asking a board to approve the next step of this pilot program without us being able to have information to show that it's working or not working. So hopefully that can be resolved, because how do you measure it if you don't know what the ridership is? Which leads to my second question, which you clearly don't have the information for, I'm sure. I was just curious, because of the age of people in the Pinellas Park area, do we have an age? Do we know? Do we gauge any of that? Do we, some of them aren't tech savvy, so.
Yes, and, from this pilot, I think Pinellas Park was made sense to do because the discussion of the 444 and the need for some alternative transportation at the time made perfect sense. And the pilot made sense there because you have everything there. You have a transit center, you have probably the busiest Walmart in the entire county, maybe in the whole west coast of Florida. And it just made sense to put it there in that location. And
Maybe not from an Uber market perspective.
from a marketing standpoint, and I, again, as a pilot, that's what we've learned. Perhaps demographically, the idea made sense. We have an opportunity to get these elderly people there. We had a very difficult time in getting them to engage in the software and the application. And I think moving forward, we need to understand that every place we go has its own market, and we need to hone and develop that marketing strategy for each one of these star locations so we can get the best out of it.
And to your point about it being a destination, I guess the next part is, do we have a way of knowing that these people are actually getting on the bus, or are they just Ubering to Walmart to get their groceries and then Ubering back home and never even getting on a bus?
So that's a question that we received from the Finance Committee here, and again, we want to reiterate, if you go out to one of these locations, it is not that. We have done everything we can for that location to not be that at all.
We're working with Uber to make it a time limit, so you can't do that. You can't get off at a connecting star point and get back on Uber.
Oh, okay.
Maybe for a day or at least an hour or so, or a couple hours, that you would be prohibited. It wouldn't give you the discount if you just took Uber back home.
Okay. The next question, it's not really a question, I guess it's a statement, is it's interesting in light of the expanded service with the millage and the budget that when Commissioner Eggers brought up the pilot program of 1 year, we were told that pilot programs are typically 3 years, but we've just heard today that this is this is a 1-year pilot program again that we're doing. And so I'm kind of conflicted on kind of our approach of what a pilot program is. So that's just a statement. And then to that point, there are 7 stars. One of them's in Oldsmar. I'd like to know if we can just pay for our star.
The whole PSTA board just pay for your star?
And St. Pete Beach, too.
We'll send them the Uber bill.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the information. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Long.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I would like to remind my colleagues that are on the county commission, and maybe share with everyone else that isn't, that every year for the last 5 years, Pinellas County has conducted a citizens survey. And when the survey results come back in, the county or the company that does the survey for us has the ability to segment out the results in zones. And if you remember, commissioners, the chart that has the North County zone, what was the #1 issue in Eastlake and North County? It was transportation and lack of transportation options. Because that came into my head so clearly during the one-on-one when I met with Brad, it caused me to think, wait a minute, if we delay the decision on this issue tonight, or whenever we're poised to take it up, then we are not giving ourselves an opportunity to have this question about Uber in North County and everywhere else where we have this program going into effect. It occurs to me that all over where these stars are, and by the way, I would prefer to have more than 7 with a few more in North County, because we are taking service away from there. I'm just saying. If we started this program right away, well then, we'd have a perfect opportunity come January, early February, when we will do that citizen survey again, to get a few questions interspersed in there about, are you using this program? Do you know about this program? I don't know. I mean, I would leave it up to you guys to figure out what those questions might be. But again, in partnering with the county, I think we can help determine for our staff here the real true success of this program. I mean, to me, that just makes sense. Secondly, with regard to the issue and your negotiations or conversations or whatever you want to call it with Uber, I clearly understand as well that this is a brand-new pilot for them, working with a governmental entity. And clearly, yes, I do understand about proprietary information and you can't release it. But I do know that we should be able to get that number, Commissioner Welch, in our one-on-ones with our CEO. It doesn't mean we have to go out there and start blabbing it all over to, you know, the entire community, but we are elected officials. We are bound by confidentiality and ethics and proprietary information that I think most of us do a pretty superb job not misusing that privilege. So maybe it's an opportunity for us to learn about Uber and for them to learn about us, and we can handle it that way. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner
I'm hungry.
Eggers.
I wish I could say that I'm standing between now and you eating, but we've got an awful lot still on the agenda tonight. I'm hungry as well. I think the idea of this first mile, last mile is what has intrigued most of us, and I think the idea of using transit, but never figure how are you going to get to it, and on the other end, what do you do when you get there? So I think it's an attractive concept, and I think it's something that we should be exploring. And our group had a lot of questions about it, just in terms of gaming the system, but even beyond that, I think there's just an awful lot here to absorb, and I think the idea that our committee suggested was bringing this just for information, so that it could settle a little bit, because quite frankly, we've had Pinellas Park, and we had an Eastlake cab pilot in this too, where they were using the cabs up north, right?
Yeah.
And this down south. And quite frankly, other than what we've talked about in the last week or two and tonight, there's been no discussion. For me, we're using food analogies. I'm going to use like umpiring analogies. One of the things that they told us before we make judgments are to pause and then read and then react, instead of just reacting real quick. And so for me, this is a big deal. I mean, we've heard it up here and how important this is and how, you know, how we could be, you know, trailblazing in a little way, in some ways. So I think we should just, you know, take it easy this month. We're going to get some additional information. I'd like to get more information on, drill down a little bit on the success or failure of our program, the 2 pilots that we just got through, or I guess we finished, or we're in the middle of, or I'm not sure where that is. But I can tell you from my perspective, marketing up front is so critical. And I think we have been remiss on programs that we've tried in the past, whether it was the one up in North County in East Lake. I'm not quite sure how, we think we do a good job, but the residents out there aren't hearing the message. So, you know, I think we could do better. So it's about marketing, it's about operating, and then it's about reviewing. I think some of the commissioners here tonight have talked about, you know, we've got to be able to review the results so that we can see, you know, what success stories there are and why we're, you know, why we're pursuing this again, and another pilot program that we may or may not go forward with. So I have no problem with this being informational tonight. I think we need to see a lot more feedback on the systems and why they didn't work. I mean, if you do $100,000 and each day you take a ride somewhere and back home, you're going to get $20, right? I mean, if you're taking your Uber to a bus stop, getting the ride to someplace, and on the other end getting another, because it's a $5.90 minimum, right?
Yes.
So, and then you got to come back home, so that's a $20 per day, and then that's about 5,000 rides that we're talking about if they do it once. I mean, you're talking 5,000 rides, and so I don't even know how many rides we you know had.
Yep.
In I mean, I've heard some numbers tonight, but and how many did we get up in East Lake on the cab one? I just feel like we're starting to scratch the surface, and I don't know why or how this came up in finance this month. I mean, just out, you know, again, I really appreciate the work you've done, but it just seemed to come out of nowhere that we are now going to go from this pilot, which we really didn't have results, to now like a county-wide thing. And so I love the concept. I love the idea. I think this is absolutely where the future of transit is going in terms of having more work with the Uber system or any of these other things. But I think we just need to slow it down a little bit. And I don't mean 2 years. I'm just talking a month or two, so we as a board can absorb what we're talking about, some of the results, some of the things we might have to hear in a one-on-one session before we move forward with this. And if we move forward with this, you know, you guys don't do a really bang-up job marketing, then it's not going to work again. And then we're going to say, well, it just doesn't work. And that's not true. The residents don't know the things that we talk about every day. We talk about this over and over and over, not this particular thing, and think that the residents are tuned in. And we've got to do a better job of penetrating, getting that message out, whatever it is. So just some thoughts, but I am excited about the concept. I don't want anybody to take anything else away from that. I just think we've got to slow it down just a little bit, get our arms around it, and make sure that we're committed, all in, on a marketing plan that gets the message out before we start, so it has a chance to succeed. So anyway, those are some thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple more speakers in the queue, and I just wanted to make a comment on our, and do a process check. It's about 8:15. We're going to be able to get through the rest of our agenda fairly quickly, so I don't think we have too much longer after this item. I'm not hearing that the board's ready to take this up as an action item tonight, but we do have 2 more speakers that want to address it. So Commissioner Gerard and then Commissioner Scott.
You probably said it early on, but are the 7 locations that you're talking about right now in addition to the Pinellas Park, or are we stopping that? And
So,
I mean, that was a pilot, right?
Yes, so we will, the original Pinellas Park Transit Center stop will remain. Okay. The stop that was adjacent to the Walmart will no longer be one, only because it sort of goes away from what we've learned, and it being, you know, everyone's just going to provide it to Walmart, and that defeats our purpose. So the Pinellas Park Transit Center will remain, yes.
Okay. And I agree with Commissioner Eggers that we should take our time doing this, since for some of us, this is the first time we're seeing this. But I would also comment that there's nothing in Mid-County. I mean, nothing. Largo, Seminole, Pinellas Park, Clearwater, nothing. So,
It was.
just saying. Okay. Well, Pinellas Park, sorry, they have.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I will be brief. I know everybody wants to get out of here. Thank you very much, Chris. I know you put a ton of work into this, and I love the concept, first mile, last mile. I think it's great. But I'm also not really ready to make a decision on anything with it tonight. You know, I know you scale back to 7 to address a lot of the concerns, which I think it does, but when I look at it now, I kind of wonder if it really is enough. And, you know, I also have the concerns that $20 subsidy seems like a lot, and we could really burn through 100 grand pretty darn quickly that way. But I still kind of have that concern is what's PSTA getting out of it? We don't really have any guarantee that we're even going to get a fare out of it. And if we're giving somebody a $5, $10, $15, $20 subsidy a day, it'd be nice to know that that's somehow tied to a fare. And maybe the technology isn't quite there yet to be able to do that, but I would like to still be able to see that in here somehow. So great work, thank you very much, but I'm just still kind of letting all this sort of stuff. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like we will be taking this up for a vote at our next board meeting on October 26th. And prior to that, this subject will certainly be coming back to the Finance Committee, maybe the Planning Committee, I don't know, but certainly the Finance Committee. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
For all of your work on this. This is very intriguing, very exciting. Just a few more details to iron out. And Brad, thank you for all your work on this. We're getting a lot of really positive national recognition for our innovative work with the new ride-sharing companies. And we're in new terrain. There's a lot to figure out. So
Very excited. Thank you.
So our next item on the agenda is reports and correspondence. And Brad, you want to give us an update on the performance report and updates, please?
I do. In your packet is our standard reports on ridership. Ridership was down in August by, I think, 6%, but that is an improvement over the last several months and is the first month since February that we have been down less than 10%. Some of that had to do with the other report that's in your packet that I presented, that I updated both the Finance and Planning Committees on, is the ongoing discussions that we're having with Pinellas County about the Department of Health and Human Services Blue Card program. The county and PSTA have worked very hard and successfully together since we last met to transition that to a manageable program that is going to avoid us losing the funds that we work hard to get from the state for transportation disadvantage, so that is a great thing. My meeting with the county administrator has been changed to, so it hasn't happened yet, and it's scheduled now to happen a week from Monday, and I will be back at your committees to give you a latest update. I heard from a number of the county commissioners that sit on PSTA and the county staff that they hope to have a compromise solution to the program to keep it going. And there's some details in your packet about a proposal that I'm going to share with Mark Woodard and see if we can keep the program going together. Last, I want to highlight something that Chair Rice highlighted in the MPO update, but it's really a very historic thing. I want to highlight it again. The MPO voted for the first time in its history on a multimodal transportation priority list ever that included public transit projects for the first time and not just road projects. And including 3 out of the top 10, I think, were transit projects. Oh my gosh, amazing progress. So that list is in your packet. That will help us in many ways. It'll help us in talking with the Florida Department of Transportation, because they always come back to us and say, well, ask your MPO to prioritize whatever you want, and then we'll talk to you. Well, now they can't use that excuse. They might come up with something else, but that's a great thing I just wanted to highlight. Agenda item number 9 on your list is the future meeting subjects. Again, the next item, thing I want to call your attention to is really on October 11th, which is not on your packet, but that is the workshop down in St. Pete Beach that we talked about. And again, we'll send out another reminder if you are able to join me, and I know a number of you already said you might be able to come. That would be great. October 11th at St. Pete Beach City Hall. And then you can see the other meetings coming up on the agenda. We'll probably bring back this Direct Connect proposal at your October board meeting. I think Commissioner Welch has already been replaced by the County Commission with Commissioner Justice. So we'll welcome him at that meeting. And then we will perhaps have an agreement with St. Pete Beach if they agree to pay for it by then. So that's the future agenda items. One other point that you'll see is not on there anymore. We had scheduled with you a workshop of the PSTA board for October 14th, but that is not going to happen. You can take that off your calendar. The executive committee met earlier this month and agreed to have a workshop, but have it as a collaborative lab workshop at the St. Pete College Collaborative Labs. And Rachel is getting some dates, and we'll get that on the calendar when we can get into that facility.
Thank you, Brad. So let's see, I believe that brings us to the end of our meeting. Are there any board member comments before we adjourn? Seeing none, thank you for a productive meeting, some good decisions made today. Brad, I just want to say real quick, yes, the inclusion of transit in the top MPO priorities is historic. We're really headed in a new strategic direction, and it certainly reflects the level of cooperation between the MPO staff and our PSTA staff as well. So thank you, good night, and we will adjourn.
Yeah.
Rachel, thanks for a little.